This talk is about the formalization of quantifiers in proof assistance. In particular, we would like to be able to build libraries about proof theory, in particular for logics which rely on quantifiers, so that people who usually use paper for writing their proof theory result could move to machine for the formalization. Because of this goal, and since we would like to have the largest possible audience, we do not want to rely on some specific methodological constraints. For the similar reason, we would like to use names rather than indices. And to make this reasonable, we need to avoid using renamings. Otherwise, the formalization becomes really tedious to use. Let's have a look at formulas. The usual representation of formulas with names is the following. You have a set of variables, first order terms, and then formulas. And in this talk, we will focus on the for all quantifier. There is no difference for there exists. Trouble comes with substitution, because in this named setting, substitution may generate captures. And the only way to avoid it is to do some renaming. There is a non-solution to this problem, which is called the locally named representation. The idea, coming back from Genzen, is to introduce a new set of objects called parameters, so that terms are built from variables, function symbol, and also these parameters, which could be understood as a set of constant symbols. This way, closed terms are defined to be terms with no variable, but without any constraints on parameters. The notion of formula is not modified, but it is very important to notice that only variables are quantified. So there is no binding construct with respect to parameters. This means that when you define substitution, if you assume the substituting term to be closed, there is no possibility for capture. And you can define a simple notion of substitution, which is meaningful as soon as this hypothesis is satisfied. This is very good for formulas. Let's have a look at proofs now. We continue with Genzen ideas, and we get, for natural deduction, for example, the following rules. The for all elimination rule has this closeness assumption because we need to do a substitution. For the for all introduction rule, if we read it bottom up, we open a for all quantifier. It creates a free occurrence of x in A, and we immediately substitute it with a parameter E called the eigenvariable. There is a side condition that this eigenvariable must be fresh, that is, E does not occur in gamma and A. From this, we can consider proof transformation. If you study normalization of natural deduction, you have to eliminate this pattern of a for all introduction rule followed by a for all elimination. And for this, you need to consider a notion of substitution on proofs, where a term is substituted for an eigenvariable. This means that these parameters, eigenvariables, are not constant symbols anymore since they are used for substitutions. And this gives you some troubles. If you consider this example, you have a perfectly good application of the for all introduction rule, but after substitution, the eigenvariable now appears in the context, and this is not valid anymore. So the only way to correct it is to rename the eigenvariables when you do a substitution. And remember, we would like to avoid renamings. What happens is that this for all introduction rule is a kind of conversion from the for all connective, which is binding the variable x, to the for all introduction rule, which is now binding the eigenvariable E inside the proof above. And this is this fact that for all introduction rules act as binder for eigenvariables that makes substitution difficult to enter. There is a completely different approach, which is the De Bruijn approach. It is based on defining terms with variables represented by natural numbers. As a consequence, the for all quantifier is assumed to always act on 0. The notion of substitution is usually obtained through parallel substitution, where you use a substitution function that acts on all natural numbers at the same time. you can define the substitution for a term in the formula. When you reach a variable, you simply apply the function. And when you want to apply a substitution to a for all formula, you need to lift up the substitution to avoid any conflict between the 0 in A bound by for all and what happens in the substitution. The rules as defined following this idea of parallel substitution. For the for all elimination rule, you generate a substitution function t tilde from the term t you want to substitute. And in the for all introduction rule, you open the for all on the right-hand side. But since now 0 is free in A, you need to shift up all variables in X, in gamma, sorry. And this replaces the freshness side condition of Gentzen. With this notion of rules, it's reasonably easy to define a notion of substitution for proofs, which requires some lifting operations as well. All this works perfectly well, but it's really dedicated to machine because it works with natural numbers. You have a lot of indices manipulation to do, and the formulas and proof you get are not so readable for human. So what we would like to know is to take the best of the two approaches, locally named and de Bruijn, and that's what we call anti-locally nameless. The starting idea is to rely on the notion of locally named formula. But now we choose the set of parameters to be natural numbers. This means that free variables will be natural numbers and bound variables will be named. This is exactly the converse to what happens in the locally nameless formalization. This is why we call this anti-locally nameless. Since we have two kinds of subjects, variables and indices, we need two notions of substitution. This parallel substitution for indices is not exactly the same as de Bruijn, since now when we apply a substitution to a for all quantifier, since for all applies to a variable and R acts on natural numbers, there is no conflict and we can do a simple commutation. There is no need for lifting in R. Concerning the rules, the for all elimination rule is exactly Gentzen's rule. And the key novelty is in the for all introduction rule, which is a mix of the de Bruijn rule and the Gentzen rule. On the left-hand side, we have this shifting operation from de Bruijn. And on the right-hand side, you have this X, which is replaced by a fresh eigenvariable, and it will always be 0 in this formalization. But since we introduce a 0, we need to shift indices in A to avoid conflict with 0 in A. So what happens is that we shift all formulas, and then we substitute 0 for X. Concerning substitution in proofs, it works exactly as in the de Bruijn approach. Let's look at an example. So these are three representations of the same proof. In these two cases, locally named and anti-locally nameless, closed formulas are represented with name, which helps a lot in readability comparing to this de Bruijn representation. In particular, the choice here of having the same name X on both sides is meaningful, while here they happen to have different number representation. It's important to notice that even if I've chosen to put in red all the occurrence here of the same variable, the associated representation varies inside the proof. In the locally named representation, we instantiate Y with a fresh eigenvariable, and then it doesn't change anymore. But in the de Bruijn representation or in the anti-locally nameless representation, the indices are changed because there is some lifting inside the proof. However, it is important to remark that in the anti-locally nameless representation, the representation of an occurrence of a variable is the same inside the sequence. While here in de Bruijn, inside the sequence, the red variable can be both 1 and 2 at different places because of this quantifier here. This is important in practice because when you work on a proof assistant, very often you focus on a current state of a proof that is a sequence. And this uniformity of representation helps a lot for reading what you're doing at the time. To conclude, it is also possible to consider second-order quantification, but not first order and second order at the same time because you have additional binding troubles. And you can do various other logics and logical systems. We have been able to use names in the formalization with almost no renaming and keeping an homogeneous representation of variables inside sequence, even if in proof they may vary. With respect to our starting goal of using names, we are still using some De Bruijn representation since they appear to be the best thing to do because of this difficult binding constraint coming from the fold introduction rules. Thank you for your attention.